Hi there. I wanted to preface this video on vibrato by saying that I want all of you to find your own combination of these exercises and movements that give you the vibrato that you want in a way that works for you. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, and vibrato is a very individual thing. So whether you use more of your arm, bending at the elbow and maybe a little bit at the shoulder, or you use more of moving your hand at the wrist, it doesn't matter. What matters is that it's natural, it's relaxed, and it causes your fingertip to oscillate on the string. That's the important thing. So however you get that fingertip movement is up to you, and you'll find it. Use your ear, listen to a lot of good violinists, get an idea in your head of what you want your vibrato to sound like, and figure out what combination of those movements works best for you. Happy practicing. I hope this video is helpful. All right, let's talk about vibrato. The most important thing when you're trying to develop your vibrato is the flexibility of your fingers. Always think of vibrato as finger vibrato. You'll hear people talk about arm vibrato, wrist vibrato, different types of vibrato, but the vibrato happens where your fingertip contacts the string, okay? And so it helps to think of it that way. Now, let's warm up with some movements first. Put your violin down, your bow down. I'm gonna move quickly through this stuff. If you need to pause the video and do these things on your own and start again, that's great. Okay, so first motion is your arm motion. So put your hand up like you're holding the violin, and let's just move your hand back and forth like this. So you're kind of using your bicep and bending at the elbow, and maybe a little bit of movement here in the shoulder joint as well. Okay, that's your first movement I want you to practice. Second one is your wrist movement. We're going to go from a straight wrist and back. So back, relax your wrist back, and then up, up, up. When we do vibrato, we are changing the pitch from the pitch backward and then back up to the pitch again. We never go past the pitch. We never go sharp of the pitch. We're just going to bend it flat and then bring it straight back up. So practice from straight wrist, bent wrist, and back up. Different speeds, different widths of the motion too, from all the way back to just a little motion. The next motion is a motion of your fingertip, okay? So I want you to take your right hand, flop it forward, and make a little shelf out of it, and then put your fingers down, put one finger down, and rock your finger all the way back so that this little joint, your first joint there, goes all the way backwards and bends the wrong way, okay? So completely collapse your knuckles. Do that with all your fingers, all right? And do it with the pinky. The pinky's the hard one. What I like to do and what I need to do sometimes is just to take my other hand, my thumb and forefinger, and just kind of wiggle my pinky at that first joint there, just to kind of wake up that joint, because sometimes that joint just doesn't want to move on the pinky. Also, if you're having trouble, you can support it with your third finger. So put third and fourth fingers down and rock it like that. Okay? So practice those three movements when you're watching Netflix, watching TV, hanging out, chilling. Be doing this stuff, and you can make your time productive. Just takes a little bit, but be persistent and diligent about it. Okay, now let's pick up our violins. And we're just gonna do some more movements, but with the violin now. So the first thing is, for all of these exercises we're gonna do, let's take a look at the first one, which is just gonna be a little bit of that finger roll that we were just doing, okay? And when you rock back, we're just gonna do that little, I'm moving my fingers out of the way just so you can see. Of course, I would always keep all four of my fingers over the fingerboard. Okay, always good form, but just for the camera, I'm doing this. Rock your finger back just a little bit, very subtle movement. And important part of this is put the finger pressure down when you're on the pitch here, and then as you rock back, release the pressure. That's going to give your muscles a little break, okay? Because a common problem is that your muscles get really fatigued when you're practicing vibrato, and this helps with that. So whenever you're in that backward, whenever you're rocking backward, release the finger pressure and then reapply it as you come back up. Second exercise, so do that little, before we go to the second exercise, do that little subtle finger rocking motion with all four of your fingers on all strings, and you can do it in all positions as well. You might not do it every day in all those combinations, but just pick a few to do every day. Now, let's go to the next one, which is where we do that finger roll, but we collapse those knuckles all the way, just like we were doing before when we used our hand as a shelf, okay? So collapse those all the way. And again, release the pressure on the way back and reapply it when you come back up. The pinky is the hardest, so you can reinforce with the third finger. So put third and fourth finger down with pressure and then rock back and collapse those knuckles. Now, another way you can kind of wake up that pinky joint if it doesn't want to move is actually to assist with your other hand. So take your index finger there, and as you collapse the finger, you can just kind of push on that joint to make it kind of collapse all the way back. The next one is a pushing and pulling motion. So you can take put a finger down, any finger you want. We're going to do it with all fingers, of course, but what I want you to do is put the finger down with pressure and then push your hand away from the neck of the violin and release the pressure, and then pull your hand back in and put the pressure back down. So it's this motion. Okay? So push away with your finger and pull back in with your finger. Push away and pull back in. All fingers, all strings, all positions. Next one is just your wrist motion, okay? Same like the one that we did without the instrument. So just rocking back and forth, as opposed to pushing and pulling with the finger like we were doing last time. We're just going to rock the hand back at the wrist. If you have trouble with that, which is a common problem, I can't get my hand to move at the wrist, or your wrist starts moving like, you start moving like this and you don't know why and you can't control it. Place the heel of your hand against the instrument here in third or fourth position, and do this exercise there. And what that does is it steadies the rest of your arm, so that as you rock back, you just keep it resting, keep the violin resting there on the heel of your hand, and you can do it that way. And then once you've done some of that, try again. And hopefully that's going to wake up that wrist joint a little bit, so you'll be able to do that. All right. Now let's pick up our bows and let's do some exercises with the instrument. So I would practice in rhythms. So let's turn the metronome on. You could also do this with like a song that has a beat or whatever. That might make it more fun than just doing it with the metronome. But for right now, we'll do it with the metronome. And so we can do different divisions of the beat. So let's say we do one vibrato motion per beat. And at slow speeds like this is something important. So at slow speeds like this, don't think of it as down, down, up, down, up, down, up, okay? Don't do like equal motions like that. Do kind of one motion that spends more time on the actual pitch. So it's more like almost like a dotted rhythm, like da. So that upward motion to the pitch is a little bit faster. Okay, maybe the downward motion a little bit slower, and then the upward motion a little bit faster. And that's going to help you with that fatigue issue as well, because it takes more effort to do than it does, because it's a smoother and less complicated motion. And that's going to save your arm muscles and hand muscles. All right. Then you can do different divisions of the beat. So I could do triplets. I could do 16th notes. If the beat there is a quarter note. I could do sextuplets. And then I can make up rhythms. I could do da, 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 da. I could do the opposite. Da, 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 da. Okay? And then you can get creative with it. You can kind of make a creative exercise out of it where you just think of any rhythm and try to do that rhythm with your vibrato. That's a fun exercise to do. It kind of turns into an improvisation exercise. Good. Oh, one more thing I want to talk about is another common problem, which is you feel like you can't vibrate with your first finger because you feel stuck. And there's a reason for that. Okay. The reason is that you're relying too much on resting the violin against the side of your index finger there, against the neck. All right. And so that needs to be free in order for you to vibrate. And what you have to do is support the violin between your thumb and your fingertip. Okay. So if I give you a close up here, you can see that there's a little bit of daylight there between the corner of the fingerboard or the side of the neck there and the side of my index finger. And that's what has to happen in order for you to vibrate freely. You're kind of resting the weight of the violin more on your thumb and kind of just lightly pinching it. I hesitate to use the word pinch, but slightly pinching it between your whatever finger you have down and your thumb. Okay, and that frees up the index finger. Another thing that's going to help is that you have also good support with your jaw on the chin rest and your shoulder rest on the collarbone, so that you can do both. You can either support the violin here when you need to, and you can support the violin here when you need to without your head. Okay, great. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you have fun doing that, doing all these exercises. Again, be diligent, just a little bit every day, and you're going to see great improvement. Happy practicing, everybody. Thanks for watching.